Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Canada Immigration. Canada deports 19,000 immigrants in 2025 amid tighter visa rules. Canada carried out an unprecedented number of removals in 2025, marking a defining year in the country's immigration enforcement landscape. According to newly released year-in-review data from the Canada Border Services Agency, nearly 19,000 foreign nationals were removed from the country, an all-time high. At the same time, Canada experienced its sharpest population decline since the aftermath of the Second World War. This rare convergence of stricter enforcement and declining population underscores a major recalibration in Canada's immigration system, driven by policy shifts, public pressure, and evolving global migration trends. The numbers behind Canada's record removals. CBSA data updated through October 31, 2025, reveals 18,785 forced removals during the calendar year. When activity from November and December is included, the total rises slightly to 18,969 removals. This marks a notable increase compared with previous years. 2023, 15,207 removals. 2024, 17,357 removals. 2025, nearly 19,000 removals. The surge occurred even as fewer people crossed Canadian borders overall. In 2025, more than 70 million legitimate travelers entered the country, representing a 12% decline from the year before. Enforcement momentum throughout the year. Removals were not concentrated in a single period but remained consistently high throughout 2025. Quarterly data highlights sustained enforcement activity. Quarter 1, 5,654 removals. Quarter 2, 5,400 removals. Quarter 3, 6,478 removals. Early Quarter 4, 1,253 removals, October alone. This steady pace signals a year-long emphasis on compliance, removals, and border integrity rather than short-term enforcement spikes. Deportation orders lead all removal types. Among all enforcement actions, deportation orders accounted for the largest share. Of the 18,785 removals recorded through October, 8,982 were deportation orders. 5,821 were exclusion orders. 3,982 were departure orders. Deportation orders represent the most severe outcome under Canadian immigration law. They impose an indefinite ban on returning to Canada unless special authorization is granted. In 2025, deportation orders rose sharply compared with 6,936 issued in 2024, reflecting tougher enforcement for serious or repeated violations. Quarterly breakdown of deportation orders. The pace of deportation orders remained robust across the year. Quarter 1, 2,790. Quarter 2, 2,525. Quarter 3, 3,018. October, Quarter 4, 649. Together, deportation orders accounted for nearly half of all removals, highlighting their central role in Canada's enforcement strategy. CBSA has maintained that deportation decisions are made on a case-by-case basis. However, high-profile incidents involving criminal allegations and rejected refugee claims have intensified public scrutiny over consistency and transparency. Understanding other types of removal orders, not all removals result in permanent bans. Departure orders. A total of 3,982 departure orders were issued in 2025. These require individuals to leave Canada within 30 days. Failure to comply automatically converts the order into a deportation order. Exclusion orders. 5,821 exclusion orders were issued, barring re-entry for periods ranging from 1 to 5 years. These are commonly applied in cases of misrepresentation or minor non-compliance. Fiscal year data from 2024 to 25 shows continued reliance on this graduated enforcement approach, with 4,570 departure orders and 5,665 exclusion orders issued. Serious inadmissibility and security concerns. Within the overall figures, 841 cases involved serious inadmissibility grounds, including national security threats, organized crime, human rights violations, criminal activity. Alongside removals, CBSA intensified preventive measures. 35,608 individuals were turned back at U.S. land borders. 61,960 asylum claimants underwent security screening. 5,889 cases were intercepted abroad by liaison officers, preventing travel with invalid documents. These efforts highlight a broader enforcement framework extending beyond domestic removals. Regional hotspots for removals were unevenly distributed across the country. Calendar year 2025 totals. Quebec, 8,450. Greater Toronto Area, 5,847. Pacific Region, 1,780. Prairie Region, 1,246. Southern Ontario, 859. Northern Ontario, 455. Atlantic Region, 148. Fiscal year data for 2025 to 26 mirrors this pattern, with Quebec and the GTA continuing to lead. Experts link these concentrations to higher asylum claim volumes, dense urban populations, major ports of entry, and increased pressure on housing and social services. Why people were removed from Canada? Under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, removals are issued for specific grounds of inadmissibility. In 2025, non-compliance dominated enforcement actions. 15,605 removals of refugee claimants for non-compliance. 2,065 removals of non-claimants for non-compliance. 734 removals for criminality. 117 for transborder criminality. 79 for organized crime. 122 for misrepresentation. Smaller numbers for cessation of status and other grounds. Most non-compliance cases involved overstaying visas, breaching permit conditions, or ignoring removal orders. Immigration enforcement meets population decline. The surge in removals coincided with a rare demographic shift. Statistics Canada reported a population decline of approximately 76,000 people or 0.18% in the third quarter of 2025, bringing the population to just under 41.6 million. This marked the largest quarterly population drop since 1946, excluding pandemic-related declines in 2020. The decline was largely attributed to fewer non-permanent residents, following federal measures to limit international students and temporary workers. A broader policy reset takes shape. Canada's immigration strategy has evolved rapidly. In 2022, the federal government announced plans to admit nearly 1.5 million immigrants between 2023 and 2025 to address labor shortages. Approximately 1.2 million arrivals have occurred so far. However, rising concerns over housing affordability, infrastructure strain, and cost of living pressures prompted the government to reduce immigration targets in October 2024 for 2026 and 2027. Study permits declined sharply in 2025, falling by nearly 74,000 between July and September, particularly in Ontario and British Columbia. Educational institutions and employers have reported mounting challenges as a result. Asylum claims continue to rise despite restrictions. Even as entry pathways tightened, asylum pressures persisted. Canada received an estimated 505,000 asylum claims in 2025, more than 3 times the number recorded in 2022. Taken together, the data paints a picture of a country tightening its gates, strengthening enforcement, and recalibrating immigration priorities, while navigating ongoing humanitarian and economic pressures. A defining year for Canada's immigration landscape. The year 2025 stands as a turning point. With record removals, declining population growth, and shifting policy goals, Canada entered a new phase of immigration governance, one marked by firmer enforcement, sharper trade-offs, and an evolving national conversation about who gets to enter, stay, and belong. That is all for today, in this video. Please hit like and subscribe for an upcoming video. See you later. Till then, take care.